most amazing artist. I hope you're all having a wonderful day so far. Today, we are starting a brand new project. So we have really been looking at the elements of art and the principles of design this year. Now we get to put it to use. So we are going to be focusing on color for this first project, and we're going to look at the color wheel and learn about analogous colors, which we'll talk about in just a moment. We're also going to look at the principle of design balance, because what we're going to create here is a yin-yang symbol, and that is the ultimate symbol of balance. And you'll start to see where balance comes in a little bit later on in this project. But today we are going to focus on one half of our yin-yang, and we are going to be painting it. Okay, so there's a couple of things that you will need today. I'm going to be using this watercolor palette, a paintbrush, and some water. And you will also need something circular. Okay, this is optional. I made myself a template, which is just a piece of cardboard, and I cut a circle out so I can easily trace it onto my paper. But if you don't have the materials to make a template, then you can just look around your house. This is an old ice cream tub lid that you could use to trace. This is an old pie pan that you can use to trace. So look around your house to see what circular things you might have that you can trace for your circle, okay? Because in the end, this artwork is going to be a circle, okay? If you don't have anything that you can find around your house, then my friends, you are going to have to use those awesome skills that I know you have and draw your circle freehand without any template. So just try your best to make a circle. The only thing is, we don't want our circle to be teeny tiny, okay? This piece of paper that I have right now is 12 inches by 12 inches, so it's pretty big, bigger than my hand. Okay, even bigger than my head probably. But you don't have to use this big of paper, but depending on what size paper you have, that's how big your circle needs to be. So my paper is 12 by 12 inches, so I'm making a pretty big circle here. All right, if you have a tiny piece of paper, then your circle is of course going to be smaller. But the more room you have inside of your circle, the better, because like I said, we're going to paint one half of our yin-yang using colors, and then on the other half we're going to do some designs. Okay, we want a lot of room to be able to do that. So if you're at home doing this, make sure your circle is pretty big. Okay, but before we draw our circle, of course, we need to make sure our name is on our paper. I'm just going to write Miss M, and then I'm going to flip it over, so now my name is conveniently on the back. So it doesn't matter where you write your name, as long as after you write your name, you flip it over, so now your name is on the back. If you paint and draw on the same side as your name, then you're just going to cover it up. Okay, now that my name's on the back, I can go ahead and trace my circle, okay? And to trace something, you just set down whatever you want to trace. So if I was doing this, I'd do the same exact thing with this lid here. But I'm going to use my template, and I'm going to take one hand that I don't draw with. The hand that I do draw with is holding my pencil. I'm going to hold it in place because I don't want it to move around. And I'm just going to hold my pencil up close to that template or whatever object I'm tracing and go all the way around. Now it becomes a little bit awkward when your arm starts getting in the way. So what I do is I just lift my arm up and continue drawing my circle or whatever shape I am tracing. If you're drawing your circle by hand, then I wouldn't worry about making it perfect, because look, my circle's not even perfect and I use a template. Okay, so don't worry about it being perfect. That's not what we are. We're humans, right? We make mistakes. We're not perfect. So it's okay if your circle is a little bit wobbly like mine. So now that we have our circle in place and we know it's big enough, I have plenty of room, it's bigger than my hand, we are basically going to start at the top of our yin-yang circle here, and I'm going to use very light, sketchy motions, okay? I want to draw very light at first, because if I draw too dark, I can do it on the outside because we're going to cut this out later. If I draw too hard with my pencil, like that, I draw it really dark, I press down very hard, then if I make a mistake, it's not really going to go away, it's still going to be there. But if you do really light, sketchy lines with your pencil, like I'm barely touching my pencil to my paper, it is making very light lines, and if I make a mistake, I can easily take my eraser and it disappears. Okay, so try to think about that while you are doing this today. Draw it light, until you get it right, my friends, okay? Draw it super light, use those sketchy motions. If you want to practice on the outside of your circle, then you can definitely do that. Actually, I recommend doing that so you can kind of get a feel for what kinds of motions we should be using with our pencil. Not dark like that. I have to press down super hard. Just light, barely touch your paper, okay? So now we're basically gonna draw a big S shape in the center of our circle, and that's going to create the signature yin-yang symbol, okay? Well, that's going to cut it in half anyways. There's a couple more elements we have to add in just a minute, but that's the first step. Not only while I'm drawing am I going to use light sketchy motions, but I'm also going to draw with my finger first. I often like to do this because it helps me get a feel for what motion or where my pencil is supposed to go. Okay, so I'm taking my finger and I'm going towards the top of my circle. Then I'm going to move it towards the right side. This is where our S is going to start. It's going to start over on the top right end of our circle, and then it's going to go a curve just like an S, come out this side, and then it's going to end on the bottom left side. Okay, so if you want to make points where your S starts, it starts at the top right hand side of your circle, and it should end at the bottom left hand side. Okay, so our S is going to come and snake around just like that. So it's actually very helpful to put dots where your S will start and end. It starts up at the top right and it ends at the bottom left. Now I can take my finger, start up at the top, draw an S. Okay, so I've practiced it plenty of times with my fingers, so now I'm going to take my pencil and those light sketchy motions that we talked about earlier, and I'm not going to press down hard because if I make a mistake, I want to be able to fix it later. I'm going to draw an S, the letter S. It's going to snake around, come back, and hit that dot that I made down at the bottom because I know that's where my S is going to stop. Okay, now I'm pretty happy with that, but you might have to do it a couple of times. Once you are happy with it, you can go back in and make that S a little bit darker, right? Draw it light until you get it right. I think I got it right on my first try here, so now I can go in and make it a little bit darker. Just like this. We are going to go over these pencil lines with Sharpie a little bit later, not today, so it's not that big of a deal if it's a bit messy right now, because this is just a sketch, right? This is just a sketch. Okay, so there is my S. Once you have your S, we are going to draw two circles. We're going to draw one circle up in this hump, the top hump of our S. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just going to sketch a circle out. And when you're drawing your circle, you don't want to draw it too tiny again. This is a pretty big circle, so I'm going to make this circle on my first hump inside of my S 3 fingers wide. Okay, it can be a little bit wider than that, but I just want to make sure that it's not too small. Also, if we measure with our fingers up here on this one, we can make sure that whenever we draw our circle down here, which is what we will do in just a minute, it can be the same size. Okay, so let me get this circle right. I'm just sketching it out using those little sketchy motions that we talked about earlier. And I'm not worried about making it perfect or anything. And once I have that circle on the top right hand side, underneath that first hump of our S, we are going to do the same on this side. Okay, so this is now the left side of our yin yang, and this is the right side. So we have the circle and our right side. Now we're going to come down on the left side and do the same exact thing, trying to measure it with our fingers to make sure they're almost the same size. It's not important if they're exactly the same size, I'm not too worried about it. Okay, erase anything you need to. And there we go. Now we have our beautiful yin-yang circle. Okay, this is the basic design for yin-yang. And guys, I know I said we were going to paint today, but I've actually changed my mind because I want to make sure that you have plenty of time this week to get your yin-yang symbol exactly how you want it. I don't want you to rush drawing this part, okay? So just get the drawing done this week, and then next week we will start adding color with our beautiful watercolors, okay? So that is your preparation for next week. Just draw your yin-yang following my directions that I told you a little bit ago, and then you know for next week we are definitely going to be using watercolors. Okay, so I'm sorry about that little bit confusing part at the beginning. I just thought as I was drawing this, this is taking me a little bit of extra time, more time than I thought it was going to take. So I want to give you guys as much time as possible to get this part of our artwork done. Okay, try your best, make it nice and neat, and remember those drawing tips that I told you. Draw it light until you get it right, and draw with your finger first if it helps you see and feel where to put your pencil. Okay? Do not paint this yet. Do not outline it in Sharpie or marker yet. Just leave it as a pencil drawing for next week. Okay? Make sure you put it in a safe place. I hope you guys have a lot of fun drawing this big yin-yang. Remember to make it a little bit bigger than your hand, okay? I can't wait to see how your yin-yang turns out. I know it's going to be amazing because you guys are amazing. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.